I'm Payne, so I'm basically gonna go through Loadout Mastery on Scout with you. So basically, all you need to know, this video is gonna be formatted in like 3 different ways. First, I'm gonna be like ranking weapons just by themselves, flat out, and then I'm gonna like talk about loadouts and what synergizes well with each other. And then I'm going to go more in depth and what I would recommend as a weapon for starters, or what's good with experience, and weapons that need to be paired with others, and weapons that you should probably avoid instead of use. So yeah, let's get into it. So you'll see the list up here. I'm just going to explain it briefly, or quickly as I can. It's probably still going to be long though. I'll leave timestamps if you want to skip through this part, but I'm pretty sure you're going to want to hear this. So, rating the weapons. Scattergun, automatically the best weapon for Scout ever, right? So looking into this, you'll quickly see rewards close range behavior, right? 105 damage, point blank. You have 6 shots in one clip. It's extremely consistent. That's why this weapon is great. I don't really need to talk about it much. You guys probably already know this weapon is great. So, moving on. And next up, we have the Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol. Yeah, Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol. So, this weapon, amazing, right? The faster firing speed allows you to kill people faster, and you gain health on hit. The only downside is a smaller clip thing. I don't think it applies a lot, right? Because you're mainly going to use this to get quick heals, and also be able to kill and finish people off a little bit quicker, which is why this weapon is usually considered to be better than the stock pistols, because 1, it heals you, and 2, it fires faster, even though it has a smaller clip size. See, next up here, oh yeah, Soda Popper. Soda Popper. This weapon, great weapon. So pretty similar to the Force of Nature. Does like the same damage as a scattergun point blank. It reloads quickly. It has 2 max damage shots, unlike the Force of Nature. The Force of Nature just flings them after the first shot. This one doesn't. So you're gonna get 2 meat shots when you ambush somebody or you're point blank with somebody. Just a great weapon. Some people argue that this is better than the scattergun. I don't think so. Scattergun is more consistent, but it's still great. And you have those 5 jumps you can do when you get the charge with it. The best part about this weapon for me is the quick reload, and you do 2 max damage shots extremely quickly. And yeah, I think that's where the main highlight with this weapon is. Next up, pistol. So, the pistol. Reliable, right? Extremely reliable. You have 12 bullets in one clip. Its fire rate is going to be a little bit lesser than the Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol. It's just that you have more bullets in one clip. But I think the Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol is a little bit better. It's because it's a weapon that you're primarily going to use to finish off people, right? That's how you're going to use the pistol. So you're not going to need 12 bullets in one clip, and faster fire rate with the Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol makes that Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol a little bit better. I just like stock because I'm more used with it, so I'm always going to use stock. But Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol, great option. Stock's also a good option. I think you're pretty much going to get the same results with both weapons, but theoretically, Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol is going to be a little bit better than the stock pistol, which is why I have it a little bit lower. Anyways, next up, Mad Milk. Mad Milk, amazing weapon. So with this weapon, you throw it at somebody, and then you can heal and hit. And your teammates also get this healing bonus, right? So whenever the enemy team has this effect on them, you can effectively win the fight without having a medic with you, which is exactly why this weapon is banned from comp. You can win fights without medics. So I think it's a great weapon. I don't think it's going to be as consistent, right? Because you have to wait to charge it up. But still, amazing weapon with high potential in terms of working with your team. So if your medic is being a little bit less active, you can use this weapon to help out your team. And it doesn't always have to be used with your team. You can use it yourself and use it to benefit yourself in fights, right? So like, let's say there's a fight that you're probably gonna lose because he took you by surprise and you're on low health. Throw a Mad Milk. You can turn the tides of that fight extremely quickly. Next weapon, we have the Cleaver. So, with the Cleaver, some people argue it's better than the pistol. I can see why. I just use the pistol because I believe the pistol is going to be more consistent, and it's because the pistol sight scan, so I'm going to like it more. But this weapon is still great. High base damage of 50, great. Plus bleed, amazing, right? You can use this to mess up snipers. You can use this to deal damage. Great damage dealer. I just think it's less consistent than the pistol, but this weapon can be used extremely well in the right hands, right? Which is why I have it up here in A tier. Some people argue this better than pistol. I can see why. I just don't think it's better than the pistol. It's just lacking in consistency. But it's good. So, next up, we have the Atomizer. So, with the Atomizer, great weapon in my opinion. Triple jump is always amazing, and you do mini crit damage while you're airborne. So, the deploying penalty doesn't really matter because you're going to basically be using this for mobility, and the minus 15 damage probably doesn't matter because going in and swinging your baseball bat as scout is probably not the most effective way to deal damage. And anyways, you have the mini crit while airborne, which kind of makes the 15% less damage against players not matter as much usually, but great weapon, great for beginners. It allows you to explore maps, get used to them, figure out different jumps. It's a really creative weapon with a high skill ceiling. Good melee all around. Next up, we have the Rap Assassin, my favorite melee for scout. So basically, you launch a orb with alt fire that allows you to do bleed base damage of 15 and then 8 damage per second for 5 seconds. Great item, right? So the 65% less melee damage does not really matter because 1, you're not going to be doing melee damage. You should be using your scattergun at a close range, right? And 2, bleed is really good. It messes up snipers. More damage. It gives scout another ranged option. Great weapon. I prefer it over the Atomizer though. Still, I think the Atomizer is going to be a little bit better. Next weapon. This is going to be my first controversial take. I have the shortstop up here, above the Force of Nature even. So let me explain why. And I'm going to have to compare it with the shortstop, because I know, I'm going to have to compare it with the Force of Nature, because most people would probably expect the Force of Nature to take the spot for the third best scout primary. So, let me explain this, right? Attack interval, really small, and reload. 4 bullets reloaded in 1.52 seconds. Now let's compare that to the Force of Nature. The Force of Nature is, and I'll give you this, mildly better in both of those fields, right? Slightly faster, just slightly faster, but here's the thing. The Force of Nature has 2 bullets on the clip, and the shortstop also has 4 pellets in a single clip. So I think that 4 bullets in a single clip compared to 2 bullets in the clip make this weapon better already, right? And you reload it that quick, and it's so easy to pop off those shots. You pop them off quickly. It's just great weapon all around. Another thing about this weapon, it does medium and long range damage effectively compared to this weapon. This only has like 4, well, sorry, not 4 bullets. It doesn't have a lot of pellets compared to the scattergun. It has 4 pellets in a single shot. All those pellets do more damage though, and this is beneficial, right? Because it makes it do more damage from a long range. It's going to do more damage ranged, right? Compared to the Force of Nature, this weapon, point blank, it does a lot, yes. But here's the thing. Your first shot is already going to fire somebody a mile away, so that doesn't do much, right? Now, it does 72 damage at a point blank, right? This still lets you kill those low health classes, right? So I still think this is fine. This is effective in my opinion, and you're still going to fire quick at that close range, allowing you to kill people quickly, right? The Force of Nature, I just think it's less better in comparison to this weapon, so I'm just going to have the short stop up there. I just think it's better. Next weapon. We have the Winger. So the Winger allows you to do more damage on hits. Jump height is also increased with a 60% smaller clip size. I think this weapon's downfall is with the 60% smaller clip size. It doesn't matter if it's like a little bit smaller, like with the Pretty Boys pocket pistol, but 60%, that isn't fun. You only have 5 bullets in a single clip. You don't have a lot to work with here. Sure, you do 15% more damage. I guess that's a nice upside, but I don't think it makes up for that smaller clip size. Now, the main reason people use this weapon is because of the jump height, increased by 25% while active. Great upside, right? Good. But I just think you get more value out of using the atomizer with the third jump. I just think it's better. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't use the atomizer. The only reason you'd probably use the Winger is if you don't want to run the atomizer and you still want to have an increased jump bonus. That's the use I see with this weapon. It's great, but I think there's better alternatives, so I have it at B. Now, next up, Scouts Melees. I have Fan of War. So I don't necessarily have it because it's like the best weapon. That's not why I have it up here. I have it up here because it's great paired with like weapons like the Force of Nature and the Soda Popper, because you get a quick hit with it, and then with that quick burst damage you get out of the shortstop and shortstop. That applies with the shortstop, I guess. Shortstop, Force of Nature, and Soda Popper. It's great. You're not using this weapon to deal more melee damage, so I don't think that downside applies. But I think it's a great weapon. I think it's great with those with those 3 primaries. But with the other scout primaries, I think it's lacking. But I have it up here because it's good with like 3 scouts primaries. So next up we have the Force of Nature. I'm not a fan of this weapon. I do have it up here because it's better compared to other scouts primaries though. So you're gonna do a lot of damage close range. Sadly, your first shot's gonna launch them a mile away. So second shot will probably be enough to kill like low HP classes. Because 113 damage in the first shot should allow the second shot to kill, even if you do launch them a mile away. But for literally anyone else, that's not going to work. You can go with environmental kills on this weapon. I just think this weapon is extremely counterintuitive. You do get extra mobility with this weapon, but like you have 2 other weapons that do this, but better in my opinion, because the Atomizer and the Winger it's just better. It's here because it's better than the other primaries, right? But it's still not good. So yeah. Next, Babyface's Blaster. I feel like people get the wrong impression with how the Babyface Blaster is intended to be used. So let me just explain it quickly. You get more speed on hit, right? So the how easy it is to lose that speed boost, it's intended to be used in a hit and run fashion, right? But although you can play with this hit and run play style really well, this own weapon punishes you to play in a hit and run fashion, even though that's the best way to play it, and that's through making you lose your speed boost through double jump. I never really got that. Now, the boost reduced when hit is too punishing, right? Like 2 pistol shots, boom, gone. I think that's ridiculous, in my opinion. It's a great weapon when you play it perfectly, but you get punished for every small mistake. So that's why I have it this low. Anyways, next weapon, the Criticola. Critical though. Once again, great when paired with other weapons. I just think the weapons that it can pair with is extremely limited. I think it's great with the shortstop and kind of great with the force of nature and the criticola. And you're marking yourself for death, which is the main reason this weapon sucks. Marking yourself with death with a scout that's already like squishy, 125 health, and making yourself mark for death, that's not a good idea. Seems counterintuitive. You can get some use with it out of other weapons, which is why I have it this up. But usually not great. Next, Boston Basher. This is the hottest take I'm ever going to give. Boston Basher. So, sure, you make your enemy bleed for 5 seconds. And on miss, self-damage makes you bleed for 5 seconds. This is kind of an upside. So when you hit yourself, you bleed and your medic gains supercharge faster. Let me explain how this upside to this downside barely applies. Let me explain. So, it's not often that your medic's actually going to coordinate with your scout and casual. I see how this works when you have a smart working medic. It works fine, right? But your medic needs to have a mic and they need to be corresponding with you. It just requires a lot of things to work out, right? And your medic's going to be healing you a bleeding scout. What would be more effective for the medic to heal? Medic could be healing a heavy, medic could be healing a solid, medic could be healing a demo. And there's other classes that are just better to be healing at the moment than scout that have this that can gain ubercharge faster, like the heavy with the fist of steel and the soldier with his 2 pickaxes, right? There's better options. Now, as for the causing the enemy to bleed for 5 seconds, this encourages close range play with Scout's melee, which is never something you want to encourage. Scout shouldn't be using his melee at a close range. Scout should be using his primary, his scattergun at a close range, because that deals more damage. So it's just better to wait for the reload real quick, and then keep firing. So I don't like this weapon, right? It has like a good upside on its downside, sure. But, like, it's so hard to get use out of it. It's rare that you're ever getting use out of that thing. So, I mean, like, the only reason I have it this high is because when you can get that use out of it, it's great. But it's just so hard to get it. And then again, there are other targets that you can still get that same overcharge bonus out of that are just much better targets than you. Okay, next up in E tier, we have the worst of Scout's primaries, the back scatter. So, let me explain how this weapon is extremely counterintuitive. Mini crits when fired at close range, right? So, this stat right here messes it up. Sure, you do more damage from the back. That bullet spread, though, it's going to make your shots miss a little bit. So, seems counterintuitive. You're still going to do close to stock damage from behind. You have to get extremely close to get the kill on them. And then again, why wouldn't you just go for 2 shots with a scattergun? I don't see why, because that's pretty much a guaranteed kill if you're in that range. Counterintuitive. If you, like, in smaller clip size as well, that sucks. And you're getting rid of random critical hits and casual. So, all of these downsides for that upside, that's not going to come in use a lot. Right? It encourages flanking, yes. But, like, you still have other scatterguns that can do the job just as well as the back scatter. Right? And you're not flanking all the time as Scout. A lot of Scouts go under the impression that you're always flanking with Scout. No, that's not your playstyle with Scout. Scout's a 1v1 class. You work with your team sometimes, and then you try looking for opportunities where you can pick off classes, right? The back scatter is just going to do that less effective. It's a flank weapon. So, I just think it's terrible. The only reason it isn't in, like, the F tier is because it's a scattergun. So even if this weapon is worse than all the other scatterguns, it's still going to be effective if you play with it right, because it's a scattergun. Next weapon. The Bonk Atomic Punch. I think this weapon sucks. So, with Drink you become invulnerable, right? It's mainly used for flank plays, all sorts of, like, stuff to save your life. But here's the thing. While you're under the effect of the Bonk Atomic Punch, all damage dealt with you that does no damage while you have the Bonk Atomic Punch applied to you. makes you slow after the Bank Atomic Punch, which seems super counterintuitive to me, because when somebody catches you during a flank play, you're dead after it because they've done enough damage to you to make you slow. When you use this weapon to save your life and protect yourself, it's eventually going to turn on you, because at the end of it, you're going to be slow, and then they'll just finish you off. It's just not that great, in my opinion. Sure, you can use it to save your life. Sure, you can use it for flank plays, but you'll be dead after it. Next weapon. Candy cane. So, you shouldn't be making yourself more vulnerable, right? You shouldn't. With this weapon, you're making yourself vulnerable to Solly's demos and engineer sentries. This is bad, right? So you're already hard countered by sentries. Congratulations, you're countered by sentries even more. And Solly 1v1s are pretty 50-50, usually towards your favor a little bit. Congratulations, that 1v1's out of the window. You're definitely losing that. Same thing with the demo 1v1. You usually counter that. Congratulations. You are no longer countering demo in that situation, because you're making yourself weaker for small health packs. I just don't like how this weapon's supposed to work. You make yourself more weak in turn of getting small health packs, just like a small health pack from kills, for making yourself weaker. So, like, how are you going to get the kill in the first place if you're already weak to get that small health pack? It just doesn't make sense. And, like, you're going to be dealing with explosive classes quite a bit because you're a 1v1 class. If you're flanking, you're probably going to run into soldier quite a bit. Soldiers can go for flank plays, right? And if you're trying to attack their combo, the demo is usually around that area. Then you're going to have to deal with the demo. It's hard to avoid those classes, right? So I just don't like this weapon. Next weapon. Sun on a Stick. It's just a worse version of the stock bat, in my opinion, because you have an upside that rarely ever gets to go in play, right? First, you have to have this weapon out in order to have that resistance against the pyro, and you have to have a pyro on your team in order to get use out of that critical damage. And once again, it only does 79 in crit because the base damage has been decreased by 25. Yeah, so it kind of sucks. I don't really see how you can get use out of this weapon that much. But I do believe it is better than the stock bat. 35 damage on swing, no other use out of it, right? It's just melee that does 35 damage on swing. You actually can possibly get use out of some of these other melees. This weapon's just kind of useless. The worst weapon in the game, the Sandman. You lose 15 max health. This is terrible. This is extremely terrible. Once again, you're making yourself more vulnerable as Scout. Now, with the Candy Cane, you're making yourself more vulnerable to specific few classes. With the Sandman, you're more vulnerable to everyone now. And it's for an upside that barely gets to be played. It's with the stun. The stun is extremely weak. It used to be good, now it sucks. And even if you do stun them, you're a quick class. You can just catch up with them, right? So, counterintuitive weapon. Sucks. Worst weapon in the game. Maybe the Gas Passer is worse, or I think the Sandman is the worst weapon in the game. Yeah, that is the Scout tier list so far. Or, yeah, that is the Scout tier list. If you have any questions about these weapons, leave them in the comments. I'll probably answer your question. And, yeah, that's it for the tier list and, like, ranking weapons individually portion. So, this is the portion where I talk about, like, Scouts, loadouts, and everything. Pretty simple. So, the first loadout we got here, I'm going from top to bottom, by the way, is, what I would call the best loadout you can probably get from Scout. And that would be stock scattergun, pretty voice pocket pistol, and the atomizer. It's just mixing all of Scout's best weapons. Pretty simple, right? Now, of course, you can, I mean, this applies for all of these loadouts here. You can switch out a few of these weapons. Like, I can switch out stock with the soda popper. It'd still be a good loadout, right? So, it's not like these loadouts are these three weapons. No differentiating. I'll tell you which weapons you can switch them out for each loadout that I go to. Anyways, the second one, under the first one we just did, we have what I call the team player loadout. So I have stock scattergun, milkman, or not milkman, the mad milk, and the rap assassin. So what you need to get out of this loadout is basically you're playing with your team, right? So you're throwing your milk, and I have the rap assassin here. Basically, you get good value out of the milk, right? Because it's a melee weapon that does damage from a range, so you're gonna get value out of it from a range. And I have the scattergun, so you can get value out of it close up. You can switch that primary with pretty much any stock weapon, but I'd probably switch it out with a short stop. But stock's probably going to be your best option here. Next up, we have the speed and bleed combo. So it's babyface slasher, cleaver, and rap assassin. This loadout lacks in consistency, but the bleed is the main upside to this loadout. So usually it's hard to use the babyface's blaster because you get heavily punished for movement, right? So to make up for that, you have bleed weapons that can constantly add to your boost, right? So you could be getting hit, but as they're bleeding, you're gaining your boost back. So it actually makes this babyface blaster kind of viable. So next up, in the OK side, I didn't mention this at the start of the portion. At the left, I have what I think are good, and the right, I have what are okay. I'm not going to give you loadouts that have synergy, but are bad. I'll probably label some of those in the next section of the video, but we're talking about this one right now. So, next one, top of the OK section, I have the Flava Scout combo. So the entire idea of this is that you stun them with the Force of Nature, and then you combo it with the cleaver and the rap assassin to get quick kills on people, right? It's just a quick kill thing. And oh, sorry, my dog's over here. Hi, Kelly. It's my dog. Yeah, you're just getting quick kills and leaving, right? That's the entire way that Loadout's supposed to be used. Next up, I have the long range menace loadout with Scout. So you have the short stop, Criticola, and the rap assassin. The entire way this loadout works is you sip your Criticola and you play medium long range. So I have the Rap Assassin because that is a long range melee weapon, and I have the short stop because it's a medium long range scout primary, right? You're going to do more damage in medium long range with this weapon. So mixing it up with the Criticola is a really good option. It's not good though. I have it in the OK section just because you're still making yourself more vulnerable and scout squishy. Next loadout. I have the Soda Popper, Mad Milk, and the Phantom War. So let me explain. This loadout revolves around the Mad Milk. So essentially what I'm doing here, I'm just slapping somebody with a Mad Milk, hitting them with a Phantom War, and then immediately hitting them with the 2 Soda Popper shots. So let me explain why just select few weapons. Mad Milk. I have the Mad Milk so you can get more heal off of those 2 high damage shots. And you're going to get more heals because I have the Phantom War and I have the Soda Popper. So the Phantom War, of course, is to make you deal many crit damage to them. The Soda Popper is to do 2 extremely high damage shots from close range, and it doesn't knock them away with a second shot. And it's quick. It's 2 quick shots. So you're healing more because of the Phantom War and because of your weapon option, if that makes sense. Please tell me that makes sense. But yeah, of course you can switch a few weapons out. Let me go back and say which weapons you can switch out for ones I did. So, I wouldn't switch any weapons for the speed and bleed combo with the babyface blaster, cleaver, and the rap assassin. If I were to switch one, it'd be the melee because the secondary cleaver is a little more consistent than the melee. Next up with the stun combo, I'd switch out the Rap Assassin as well. You can use any melee you want there. Next one with this with the long range menace combo, I wouldn't switch anything out. because I have all of Scout's long ranger options to be paired with his Criticola. And then next option, which is the last one, I wouldn't switch out anything there as well. I guess you could switch out the primary there for the Force of Nature, and that's it. So, what you're currently looking at is the same list from before, but me just going in depth of like what's good for starting, what's good with experience, what needs to be paired with other weapons, what you should avoid, the whole shebang. So, you can see like how everything's categorized in the top right, what's good for starting, everything. Starting with what's good for starting, the green section, and what I'd recommend you would use if you're a beginner. So first off, the scattergun, 6 shots, consistent, forgiving. I don't really need to explain it anymore, right? 6 shots, if you miss, you can just shoot the next shot, right? You have 6 bullets in your primary. That's more than all of the other scatterguns. So, for beginners, it's just going to be the best option. Next up, we got the Pretty Boys Pocket Pistol, and I'm just going to say all the pistols in general, so I don't have to be too specific with them. Their hit scan, they are a pistol. They're just pretty beginner friendly. I'd say that for all of the 3 pistols, because, well, it's a pistol, it's a good secondary, it's a good finisher tool. And as a beginner, you're probably going to need a finisher tool, because you won't be able to do damage as consistently to finish them off just alone with your primary. So you're probably going to need something to finish them off with. So that's why I just have all 3 of them, all 3 of the pistols, good for starting. If you want to know which of the 3 is best for beginners, I'm going to go with the stock pistol, because it has more bullets in a clip, which makes it way more friendly for beginners. Next few that are good for starting. I have the Atomizer, because, it lets you explore maps, has a good skill ceiling with it. It encourages you not to use your melee in close range, and rather encourages you to use your primary. Triple jump can be useful, find different things around the map, just an overall great weapon. Next up we have the Ramp Assassin. With the Ramp Assassin, it's great. It like the Atomizer, it disencourages close range play. It's a finisher, so if you want to use any other secondary, you can use this one to finish people off. It's a great finisher. It's a ranged weapon as well. It messes up snipers. It's good for beginners, because beginners can actually utilize this weapon. Next up, we have what would be great with scout experience. So, starting off with the Soda Popper. With the Soda Popper, it's a great weapon, but you're probably going to need some scout experience to use it, because you need to be good enough in order to actually be able to use your 5 jumps in a row, right? So some beginner scouts may struggle to get that charge all the way up. Another thing is beginners, they tend to miss shots a lot more, and only has 2 bullets in 1 clip. Sure, you reload quickly, but, I mean, during that range of time, you can easily be punished for missing both of those 2 shots, right? Still a great weapon, though. Great with experience. I'm not underplaying this weapon at all. It's great. Next up, Mad Milk. With the Mad Milk, it's a good weapon, but I have it in the purple area because you need to know how to play with your team in order to use this weapon, right? If you don't know how to play with your team, then you won't know different times and what's the appropriate time to use this weapon at. Like, you might be throwing it at a position where you may be throwing it when you don't need to throw it, and thus wasting your milk and having to wait for it to charge again. Or you may be too selfish with it. You can be selfish with this weapon. It's just that you shouldn't always be selfish with this weapon. It has a lot of potential in helping out your team, and that's how you should be using it half of the time. Next up, I have the Cleaver. Cleaver, I have it here because it's not as forgiving as the pistols, because if you miss, that's it. It's 1 charge. So it's great, but you need experience, because if you miss this, then congratulations, you don't have a secondary to work with. Great weapon, though, by all means. Next up, I have the shortstop. So I have the shortstop up here because you really need to hit your shots to make this weapon count, right? Because you're doing less damage at a close range. So if you're going to struggle shooting shots at a close range, you probably shouldn't use this weapon, because you already do less damage close range, so you get punished even more. So that's why you need experience to use this. You need to know how to aim. So that's why I have it in purple. Pretty simple, right? Next up, Force of Nature. So with the Force of Nature, you're gonna have to learn like different places where you can go for environmental kills. You need to learn different movement abilities you can do with this weapon, because you can boost your movement with the like jump. Well, not jump mechanic, the knockback mechanic. You're gonna have to like learn certain weapons you can pair this with, learn what maps are viable with the Force of Nature, because this weapon greatly excels in environmental kill maps, in close range maps where it's indoors, so you can knock people towards walls and stun them. And yeah, it requires experience, but it's still fine as a weapon. I don't like it, which is why I have it down here. It's fine though. Next up, Boston Basher. So you're gonna need to learn how to work with medics with this one, especially like, I don't know. Let me rephrase that there for you. You gotta learn how to properly utilize this weapon, right? So when you're gaining uber charge with this weapon, you need to know that if this is an appropriate time to be doing that, and by that I mean, is anyone else like supposed to be healed right now? Are you taking up too much of the medic's time grinding this uber? Are there other targets that'd be better for grinding uber at the moment? Stuff like that. So you need experience in order to know how to utilize it properly. Next up, I have the Bonk Atomic Punch. It takes experience to know certain times to use this weapon, because like people will drink it whenever they go for a flank play, and less experienced players are less aware of their surroundings. And with the Bonk Atomic Punch, you need to be aware of your surroundings, right? Because if you get caught off guard and you get caught while you're under the effects of Bonk Atomic Punch, you're basically screwed after, because after you've drank it and they've done enough damage to you, you'll be slow, you'll be done. So you need to be really aware of your surroundings in order to properly utilize this weapon. Anyways, next up, I have the yellow tier, which needs to be paired with other weapons to be utilizable. So I have the Fan of War here. So basically the Fan of War, you're not going to get much use out of it if you're using weapons like stock primary, stock pistol, any of the pistols, and some other primaries. You will get great use out of it using weapons like the Force of Nature and the Soda Popper, maybe the Shortstop. And you will get great use out of it if you use it with weapons such as the Mad Milk. But with other weapons, it's kind of hard to get great use out of it with the mini credibility. It's great with the Mad Milk because you effectively heal more because you have them under the crit effect, thus dealing more damage, thus getting more heals from a single hit. And it's great with the quick fire primaries, the Shortstop, the Force of Nature, and the Soda Popper, because it allows you to heal faster. Yeah, that's that weapon. Next up, the Babyface's Blaster. This weapon sucks if you're not using it with the bleed combinations, right? Because you get super punished if you if you get hit at all whatsoever, just punished greatly. So you have to use this weapon with the Cleaver, the Rap Assassin, those two weapons, because when you hit somebody with bleed, you continue to keep gaining boost even after you get hit. So that's why this weapon's great compared with those two weapons. It needs to be with those two weapons, or else this weapon's just gonna suck. Next up, I have the Criticola. Criticola needs to be paired with other weapons in order to be great, such as the Shortstop. I'd say the Rap Assassin is another requirement. You just need plenty of things in order to actually be able to utilize it well. Anyways, Next up, we have our avoid section, weapons that you probably shouldn't even touch, unless you want to see how bad they are. At the top of each tier, we have the backscatter. You're going to get effectively no use out of this weapon. Zesty Jesus made a whole video talking about how this only counters snipers. I'll probably leave it in the description just so you can see the whole explanation on why the backscatter kind of sucks. But I think it sucks because you can just go for a second shot, and the increased spread makes the mini crits less effective. Yeah, it's just overall kind of a bad weapon. Next up, we have the candy cane. I don't see why anybody would really use this weapon because you're going to have to deal with soldiers, you're going to have to deal with demos, and this makes you more vulnerable towards them, all for small health packs. You're getting small health packs from it, which is a pretty small bonus. And B, you're making yourself even more vulnerable, so it's just counterintuitive and kind of sucks. Next up, Sun on a Stick. It's situational. I wouldn't use it because you can just get so much value out of any other melee. So that's why I have it this low. Next one is Stock. It's essentially a melee with like a lot of nothing, which is why I have it down there. It sucks, don't use it. And the Sandman, of course, is because you're making yourself vulnerable towards every other class with that melee. You're making yourself more vulnerable towards every other class with that minus 15 health, right? It's not great. And stun is essentially useless, and you can just catch up with them. And yeah, that's going to be the whole what's great for beginners, what's great with experience, what needs to be paired, what you should avoid segment of the video.
Everybody say yippee yo, one yippee yeah.